My family called me a thief for 3 years. My one-year-old brother was planting evidence in my room. They removed my door, canceled my 16th birthday, and destroyed my teenage years. But when the truth came out, I rejected their money and cut them off forever. I'm 23 years old. I work at a tech store. And honestly, I need to get this story off my chest because what happened to me basically ruined my entire adolescence, and it still affects me. The thing is, from age 15 to 18, my entire family accused me of being a thief. They punished me in ways that don't make sense. They turned me into the family pariah, and it turns out it was all my younger brother's fault. Everything. Every damn thing. And the worst part is that when they finally realized it, they thought that with an apology and some money, everything would be fine. But let me start from the beginning, because this story is long and complicated. When I was 15 years old, I lived with my parents, my older sister Nicole, who was like 17, and my younger brother Lucas, who was 11. I was the middle child, the one nobody really notices much. Nicole was always the responsible one, the one who got good grades and helped around the house. Lucas was the baby of the family, the spoiled one, the one who could do whatever he wanted, and my parents thought it was adorable. And I was there in the middle, trying to stay under the radar and live my normal teenage life, I guess. My dad, Richard, had this huge collection of knives and baseball cards that he loved, like he'd spend hours organizing them and showing them to anyone who visited the house. My mom worked part-time at an office and basically managed everything at home. It was a normal family, or so I thought. Everything started going to hell when my dad's stuff began to disappear. First, it was a knife from his collection, one that according to him was worth like $200 or something. I remember he came home from work and went straight to his study where he had everything stored, and suddenly I hear him yelling that a knife was missing. He searched the whole house, asked us all if we'd seen it, and nobody knew anything. I was in my room doing homework when I heard the commotion. I didn't even know which knife he was talking about because there were like 50 in that collection. I thought he'd lost it himself or something. I didn't give it much importance. But then, like a week later, my mom was cleaning my room, which he hated, but she insisted on doing it because according to her, I didn't clean well, and she found the damn knife under my bed, still in its case and everything. I was at school when this happened, so when I got home, both my parents were waiting for me in the living room with the knife on the coffee table and faces I'd never seen on them before. My dad asked me directly, "Why did you take my knife?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" I swear I had no idea how it got there. I'd never seen it in my life, and I definitely didn't put it under my bed. But they didn't believe me. They absolutely didn't believe me. My dad said it was too much of a coincidence, that the knife disappears and appears in my room, that clearly I took it and hid it there. I kept saying it wasn't me, and that someone else put it there, that it didn't make sense that I would have stolen it and left it in my own room where they'd obviously find it. But nothing I said mattered. My mom said she was very disappointed, that she never thought I'd do something like that, and they punished me. They took away my phone, my computer. I couldn't go out except to go to school, and I had to do all the household chores for a month. A whole month for something I didn't do. The worst part of it all is that they told the entire extended family. They called my grandparents, my uncles, my cousins, and told them I'd stolen valuable things from my dad. So when we went to family gatherings, everyone looked at me weird. My cousin Megan made passive-aggressive comments about watching their stuff when I was around, and my Uncle Brian gave me lectures about respect and honesty. It was humiliating. Completely humiliating. And I hadn't done anything wrong. I thought that after serving my punishment, everything would go back to normal. But no. Some baseball cards my dad had stored. I think they were from the 82nds or something, and were worth quite a bit, according to him. This time they didn't find anything in my room immediately, but my parents had already decided I was the culprit. They interrogated me for hours, searched my entire room while I stood there watching them tear everything apart. They even called the school to ask if I'd brought anything suspicious. They didn't find the cards, but they punished me anyway because according to them, I'd sold them or hidden them somewhere else. They extended my punishment another 2 months, put a lock on my dad's study door, and basically treated me like a criminal in my own house. And it didn't stop there. Every time something went missing, anything, I was the first and only suspect. Money from my mom's wallet, like $50, disappeared, and they accused me. More knives from the collection, obviously it was me. Some of Lucas's headphones, clearly I took them even though they weren't even compatible with my devices. It got to the point where my parents took the door off my room, literally removed it from the hinges, because according to them, they needed to be able to watch me at all times. I was 16 years old and had no privacy whatsoever. My mom searched my backpack every day before I left for school. And when I came back, my dad counted his money in front of me to make sure I knew exactly how much he had. What really destroyed me was my 16th birthday. They'd promised to let me get my driver's license, that super important moment everyone looks forward to. But like a week before my birthday, another knife disappeared, and my parents decided my punishment would be not letting me get my license and canceling any celebration. There wasn't even a cake. Nicole tried to defend me. She told my parents they were being too harsh, that they didn't have real proof, but they told her to stay out of it. That day, my birthday, I stayed in my doorless room, crying and wondering what I'd done to deserve this. School also became hell because, obviously, my parents had to tell someone, and the information leaked. Rumors started circulating that I was a thief, that I stole things from my own family. Some kids started calling me sticky fingers and moving their backpacks away when I got close. Teachers looked at me with distrust. Once, someone accused that money had been stolen from their locker, and they automatically thought of me, even though I wasn't even near that hallway that day. It was like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. And the most screwed up thing of all, what really made me question my sanity, was that after like 2 years of this, I started doubting myself. I know it sounds crazy, but when absolutely everyone around you tells you that you did something, when your own parents are 100% convinced you're a thief, you start thinking, what if I did it and don't remember? What if I have some problem and I'm taking things without realizing it? I got to the point where I literally wondered if I was losing my mind, if somehow I'd blocked out these memories or something. It was a horrible feeling, like feeling you couldn't even trust your own mind. Lucas, meanwhile, continued being the golden child. He could do whatever he wanted, had his phone, his computer, went out with his friends, and my parents treated him like he was perfect. I hated him. Honestly, because I saw how he had the normal teenage life I should have, and I was trapped in this prison where every move I made was monitored and questioned. I tried to talk to him once, like asking him if he'd seen anything, if he knew anything, but he just looked at me confused and said no. He didn't even defend me to my parents, just went on with his life like nothing was happening. The day I turned 18 was the day I left that house. Literally, the same day. I'd been saving money from a part-time job. I got my parents let me work, but took half my paycheck as payment for everything I'd stolen. And I'd talked to a friend from school about renting an apartment together. I packed all my stuff while my parents were at work, left them a note that basically said I was leaving and not to look for me, and I left. Nicole helped me get my things out. She cried and told me she was so sorry, that she knew something wasn't right but didn't know what to do. I told her it wasn't her fault, and I left. The first years on my own were hard, obviously, but they were also the most peaceful I'd had in a long time. Nobody accused me of anything. Nobody searched my stuff. Nobody treated me like a criminal. I worked full-time, started taking classes at community college, and basically built a life completely separate from my family. I changed my phone number, didn't give them my address, and only kept very sporadic contact with Nicole because she was the only one who hadn't. Treated me like garbage. My parents tried to contact me several times the first few months, but I ignored them. I had nothing to say to them. 5 whole years where I basically had no family, and I was okay with that, or at least that's what I told myself. Then, like 6 months ago, I get a call from my mom. I hadn't talked to her in years, like literally years, so seeing her name on my phone was super weird. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. And what she told me was, I need to talk to you. Things are happening at the house. Things are disappearing again. My first reaction was like, and you're calling me to accuse me? Seriously? But no. That's not what was happening. Turns out, after I left, things stopped disappearing for a while. But now, with Lucas still living in the house, he was 18 years old by then, things had started disappearing again. Money mainly, but also some other things. And this time, my parents weren't idiots, they installed security cameras throughout the house without telling anyone. And guess who they caught on camera going into my dad's study and taking money from a drawer? Yeah, Lucas. My perfect younger brother, the golden child, the one who could never do anything wrong. They confronted Lucas with the video, and he completely broke down. He confessed everything. He confessed that he'd been stealing since he was 11 years old, that he took the knives, the baseball cards, the money, everything. He said at first he did it because he wanted attention or something. I don't know. His explanation didn't make much sense, but basically he admitted it had been him all along. And when they asked him why he let me take the blame, why he never said anything while they punished me and destroyed my life, he just said he was afraid of getting in trouble. He was afraid of getting in trouble, so he let me suffer for years. My mom told me all this crying on the phone, telling me how sorry she was, that they'd made a terrible mistake, that they wanted to make it up to me somehow. My dad also got on the phone. His voice sounded broken, saying he had no excuse, that he should have believed me, that he'd ruined our relationship, and he was deeply sorry. And I was just sitting there in my apartment, listening to this, not knowing what to feel. Was I angry? Yes. Was I relieved that they finally knew the truth? Also, did it make me feel better? Not at all. They invited me to my mom's birthday dinner that was going to be like a month later. They said the whole family would be there, and they wanted me to come, that they'd explained the situation to everyone, and that they owed me a public apology. Honestly, I didn't want to go, but Nicole called me separately and convinced me. She said it would be good to have some closure, that the family needed to see me and acknowledge what they'd done. So I agreed, even though every part of me was screaming it was a bad idea. The dinner was at my grandparents' house, and when I arrived, everything felt super awkward. My parents hugged me, which was weird after so long, and I tried to act normal, but it was impossible. The extended family was there, my uncles, cousins, everyone, and some came up to me to apologize briefly, but most just acted like nothing had happened, like the last years of trauma didn't exist. Dinner started well, I guess. My mom was excited to have me there. My dad kept looking at me with this expression of guilt, and I just wanted it to end quickly so I could leave. Then my cousin Megan, the same one who'd made horrible comments about me for years, decided to make a toast. She stood up with her wine glass and said something like, "We're so happy to have the whole family together, and it's good to know we can now trust that our things are safe," as if it were a joke. She laughed and some others laughed too, as if it were funny, as if years of false accusations were something you could joke about. And something in me just broke. I stood up from the table and told Megan directly, "You think this is funny? Do you really think you can make jokes about how they treated me like garbage for years for something I didn't do?" The room went completely silent. My Uncle Brian, Megan's dad, immediately defended her, saying she was just joking, that I shouldn't take it so personally. But I was already beyond that point. I told the whole table that for 3 years of my adolescence, they treated me like a criminal, took away all my dignity, made me doubt my own sanity, and now they thought that with some lukewarm apologies everything was fine. Nobody said anything. Absolutely nobody. I looked at my parents and asked them directly, "How could you do that to me? How could you believe in one one-year-old kid over your own son? How could you ruin my life and not even question if you were wrong?" My mom started crying. My dad tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out, and I just grabbed my keys and left. My dad followed me to the parking lot, yelling for me to wait, to talk, but I had nothing more to say. I told him they'd had years to trust me, to believe me, to be my parents, and they chose not to. I got in my car and left. I thought that would be the end, that after that they'd leave me alone. But no. Like 2 weeks later, I got a call from Nicole telling me Lucas had done another big stupid thing. Apparently, he stole my grandparents' truck, crashed it while drunk, drunk at 18, and got arrested. My grandparents were furious. The truck was completely totaled, and Lucas ended up with charges for vehicle theft and DUI. My grandparents kicked him out of their house where he'd been living after my parents also kicked him out when they discovered he kept stealing from them. The kid was a complete mess. My parents called me again, this time to tell me they'd canceled Lucas's college fund to pay for the damages to my grandparents' truck and his legal fees. They said they wanted to do something for me to compensate, that they were willing to pay my student loans I'd accumulated at community college, plus buy me a new car because the one I had was old and falling apart. Basically, they were trying to buy my forgiveness, you know? As if money could fix what they did to me. I told them I didn't want their money, that I didn't need their financial compensation. What I needed was for them to have believed me when I was 15 years old. What I needed was for them to have been my parents when I needed them most. But they couldn't give me that anymore. That time had passed, and no amount of money was going to get those years of my life back. I told them I appreciated the gesture, but that they needed to use that money to help Lucas fix his life, because clearly he was the one who needed it. Lucas ended up with probation and community service, but the stealing didn't stop. My parents told me, because Nicole kept me updated on everything, that they discovered he'd been taking money from their emergency savings. For months, like small amounts they thought they wouldn't notice, but that added up to thousands of dollars. The kid had a serious problem. Whether addiction to something or he was just a kleptomaniac, I don't know. But clearly he needed professional help. My parents finally put him in some kind of rehab program, though I'm not sure exactly what kind because by that point I'd stopped asking. Like 2 months ago, I sent a final message to my parents. I told them I'd thought a lot about everything and had decided I didn't want to have contact with them, at least not in the near future, maybe never. I explained it wasn't just about the false accusations, though that was a big part, but about everything that came after. About how they talked about me to the family, about how they treated me like I was less than human, about how they never questioned their own narrative even when it didn't make sense. I told them they needed to understand that some things can't be fixed with apologies and that I needed to move forward with my life without that weight. My mom responded with a long message, basically begging me to reconsider, telling me I'd always be her son, that they made mistakes but loved me. My dad didn't respond at all, which somehow was more honest. Nicole called me crying, saying she understood my decision, but it broke her heart that the family was falling apart like this. I told her the family had already fallen apart a long time ago. It was just official now. So here I am now, 23 years old, living my life completely separate from the family I once had. I work at the tech store. I'm considering going back to school to finish a degree in programming. I have some good friends who are basically my chosen family at this point. Do I feel guilty sometimes? Yeah, I guess I do. Do I wonder if I'm being too harsh? Sometimes. But then I remember how I felt when I was 16 years old, without a door in my room, being searched like a criminal every day. And I remember why I made this decision. Last week, my parents tried to send a package to my apartment. I don't know how they got the address. Probably Nicole gave it to them, even though I asked her not to. I returned it unopened. I don't know what was inside. Probably something expensive trying to make amends. But I don't want it. I don't want their gifts. I don't want their money. And honestly, I don't even know if I want their love anymore because what kind of love does that to your own child? Lucas, according to Nicole, is doing a bit better. Still in therapy, still dealing with his issues, but at least he's not stealing anymore, or so he says. He lives with a roommate now and works somewhere. I don't know exactly where, and I don't really care much. Part of me feels something for him, like he's my brother, and he clearly has problems, but most of me just feels angry because he could have stopped all of this at any moment. One word from him, and my life would have been completely different, but he chose his own comfort over my well-being for years. Do I regret cutting contact? Not really. My life now is calm. There's no constant family drama. There's no people accusing me of things. There's no that horrible tension every time you walk into a room. It's peaceful, I guess, though sometimes it feels lonely. But I prefer quiet loneliness over the toxic chaos that was my life with them. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe someday I'll be able to forgive them. Though honestly, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Maybe Lucas will finally fix his life and want to apologize properly, though I don't know if I'd accept that apology either. What I do know is that I'm not going to let their guilt or their attempts at compensation make me feel obligated to go back. I already spent enough years of my life being the person they decided I was, instead of who I really am. And that's it, I guess. This is my story of how my family destroyed me for something I didn't do, and how I finally had to walk away to be able to start healing. It's not a happy ending like a movie. There's no emotional reconciliation or moment where everyone hugs and everything is forgiven. It's just real, it's complicated, and it's where I am now. And for now, with all the shit that happened, being where I am is enough.